Hi students, welcome to our physics class now. So in this class we are going to learn about formation of stationary waves in a stretched string. So intermediate second year physics waves chapter, and also in CBSE 11th class physics in waves topic. So formation of stationary waves in a stretched string. So consider, so this is a string which is fixed between two rigid supports. So rigid support 1, rigid support 2. So this is fixed with a tension T and linear density mu. So now the string is plucked at the middle, then the disturbance will be produced in the string to produce a incident wave, and which becomes a reflected wave. So this is the incident wave. So like that, on reaching this point, this rigid support, it reflects. So during this incident and reflected waves, so you can see the formation of stationary waves. So the incident wave and reflected wave having same frequency, amplitude, wavelength, traveling along the length of the string in opposite direction, so can superimpose to produce a waves which are called stationary waves. So this is simply explanation about a formation of stationary waves in a stretched string. So once again, how can we write a description to produce a stationary waves in stretched string? So consider a string is fixed between two rigid supports. So the tension in the string is T and linear density of the string is mu. So when the string is plucked, it produces incident wave which becomes a reflected wave. So the incident and reflected waves having same frequency, amplitude, traveling along the length of the string in opposite directions, so can superimpose to produce the waves which are called stationary waves. But in these stationary waves, the point where amplitude is a minimum or zero called nodes. So these are nodes. So the points where the amplitude is the maximum called antinodes. So those are denoted by AN. Now what is the resultant displacement caused by the resultant stationary wave? So you know the displacement of the particle due to incident wave is given as y1 is equals to a sine of kx minus omega t, and y2 is the displacement of the particle due to reflected wave is given by a sine of kx plus omega t. So this is the displacement of the vibrating particle due to incident wave, that is a wave is a traveling in positive x-axis, and this is the displacement of the vibrating particle due to reflected wave which is a moving in a negative x-axis, that is why plus is taken, minus and minus plus. So now y is the resultant displacement which is caused by the resultant wave. From y is the resultant displacement which is caused by resultant wave. From principle of superposition, so we can write y is equals to y1 plus y2. So the resultant displacement which is caused by the resultant wave is equal to sum of the displacements of the vibrating particle caused by incident and reflected wave. So this implies y1 means a sine of kx minus omega t plus a sine of kx plus omega t. So y is equals to, but here amplitude is a common, so this quantity is taken out as a common. So now we get a sine of kx minus omega t plus sine of kx plus omega t. So now this is in the form of a formula in trigonometry, sine of a minus b plus sine of a plus b. So which is nothing but 2 sine A cos B. It is a standard formula. So here you can take A is, you can compare, that is A is kx and B is omega t, students. So standard formula is sine of A minus B plus sine of A plus B, which is equal to 2 sine A cos B, where A is kx and B is omega t. So this implies the resultant displacement y is equals to 2 sine A. A means we can write kx and B means we can write omega t. So this is, so resultant displacement y is equals to 2a sine kx cos omega t. So this is the resultant displacement which is caused by the resultant wave. So y is equals to 2a sine kx omega t. So now in this resultant displacement formula, so in this resultant displacement formula, y is equals to 2a sine kx cos omega t. So this is a amplitude of the resultant wave, amplitude of the resultant wave. So which is not a constant, it is not a constant, its value depends on the value of kx. But you know kx is nothing but, so distance traveled by the wave in the string. So initially is x is the 0, then node to node lambda by 2, again lambda by 2, lambda by 2, like that. So you can take the distance traveled by the wave, x is equals to 0, lambda by 2, 2 lambda by 2, like that, or lambda by 4, so like that. So here lambda by 4, lambda by 4, lambda by 4, that is x, and k is nothing but 2 pi by lambda, or k is also given by the formula omega by v, where k is a propagation constant or angular wave number or wave vector. Number of wavelengths present in a distance of 2 pi is called k. So denoted by k, with propagation constant. So by substituting these values in kx, so you can observe, so when will be amplitude is a maximum, when will be amplitude is a minimum. So when x is equals to 0, lambda by 2, 2 lambda by 2, and so on, the amplitude becomes minimum, and those points can be called nodes. Those points can be called nodes, means that, so you want to substitute in this formula, that is 2a sine kx, x is a 0 and k value is 2 pi by lambda, then so you can get amplitude value. So amplitude is a minimum, and those points will be called nodes. So at the nodes amplitude is always minimum. So now when will be the amplitude maximum? When will be the amplitude is maximum? So when x is equals to lambda by 4, 3 lambda by 4, 5 lambda by 4, etc., the amplitude becomes maximum, and those points can be called antinodes. So this is a explaining the formation of stationary waves in a stretched string and the resultant displacement due to the resultant wave, and also about its maximum amplitude position and minimum amplitude position conditions. Now what about the frequency expression for the frequency of transverse waves produced in the stretched string? So now formula for frequency of transverse waves in the string, that is stretched string. So consider between the two rigid supports, the string is fixed like that. It has a tension T and mu. So when it is plucked, so you can see it produces incident wave, that is incident transverse wave, and then it becomes reflected transverse wave. So now speed of wave V is given as square root of T by mu. It is a equation 1. Speed of the transverse wave which is produced here is depending on tension in the string and linear density mu. Let the string is vibrating with only one loop. This string is vibrating with only one loop now. Length of this one is L. So vibrating string length is L, and here node and node. So now wavelength, consider wavelength is a lambda. Now the relation between these two, the distance from here to node is a lambda by 2. So this implies the length of the string L can be written as L is equals to lambda by 2, then lambda is equals to 2L. So now the frequency of the vibrating string is taken as N. So we know that relation between speed of the wave V, N and wavelength is given as V is equals to N lambda. V is equals to N lambda. So but lambda is 2L. This is equation number 2. Now from equation 1 and 2, in the place of V we can write N into 2L is equals to square root of T by mu. This implies N is equals to 1 by 2L into square root of T by mu. So this is the frequency of the transverse waves produced in the string, so which is also called fundamental frequency. So because the string is vibrating with one loop, that is the lowest frequency. So the fundamental frequency, so here N is called fundamental frequency, so which is given as 1 by 2L square root of T by mu. Suppose the string is vibrating with a number of loops P. So string is vibrating with the number of loops is taken as P. But here only one loop is there. So in which node and node is formed at the end. The string is vibrating with only one loop. So in the case of vibration of the string with only one loop, so now what is the frequency of the waves produced in the string? So now the frequency is taken as Np. So then this is frequency of the vibrating string of waves is given as Np is equals to P by 2L into square root of T by mu. So this is, so if the string vibrates with a number of loops P, then so frequency of the vibrating string having a transverse waves Np is equals to P by 2L into square root of T by mu. Now, so what about the loss of transverse waves produced in the stretched string? So loss of transverse waves formed in the stretched string. So what about the laws of transverse waves? So formed in the stretched string. When the string is vibrating, it produces transverse waves in the form of incident and reflected waves. So what are the laws? It has a length of the string is L, frequency is N, linear density of the string is mu, and tension is T. So the laws of transverse waves in the stretched string explain the relation of fundamental frequency N with length of the string and tension in the string and linear density in the string. So the laws of transverse waves in the stretched string can explain the relation between fundamental frequency of the vibrating string N with its length L, tension T, and mu. So with all these, so we can explain the laws. So one is a first law. So first law explain the relation between N and L, where N is fundamental frequency and L is length of the string, keeping tension of the string and linear density constants. So N is inversely proportional to L. That is, when length increases, fundamental frequency decreases, length decreases, fundamental frequency increases. So it can also be written as N1 by N2 is equals to L2 by L1, or N into L is equals to constant. So this is the first law. That is, fundamental frequency of the vibrating string is inversely proportional to its length for a constant tension and linear density. So now second law. So what is the second law of transverse waves in the stretched string? So second law explains the relation between N and T. That is, the relation between fundamental frequency of the vibrating string and also its tension. When tension increases, fundamental frequency also increases. When tension decreases, fundamental frequency also decreases. That is why between them relation is directly proportional. But in this case, length and linear density are maintained constants in the string. So second law, from second law, N is directly proportional to square root of T. That is, fundamental frequency of the vibrating string is directly proportional to square root of the tension in the string. So it can be written as N1 by N2 is equals to square root of T1 by T2, or it can be written as N by root T is equals to constant. But in this law, L and mu are maintained constant. So for a constant length, for a constant linear density, fundamental frequency of the vibrating string is directly proportional to square root of tension in the string. So this is the second law, students. So now what about a third law? So what about a third law now? So third law explains the relation between N and linear density for T and L constants. So N is inversely proportional to square root of linear density. That is, when the linear density of the vibrating string increases, so fundamental frequency decreases. When a linear density decreases, fundamental frequency increases. Linear density nothing but mass per unit length of a body. So mass per unit length of a body is called linear density. So it can also be written as N1 by N2 is equals to square root of mu2 by mu1, or you can write this one as N into square root of mu is equals to constant. So third law, how can we define? So for a constant tension and length of the string, the fundamental frequency of vibrating string is inversely proportional to square root of linear density. This is the third law. So that's all about. So this is a 8 marks topic. So for explaining the formation of stationary waves in a stretched string, and also derivation of expression for the fundamental frequency of the string which is vibrating with a single loop. After that, laws of transverse waves, that is first law, second law and third law.